Welcome to my presentation on Mystery Babylon. My name is Matt Wilson. This particular presentation focuses on blood and revenge. Now, I know there are books on the topic, so this focus is really just blood and revenge for the most part. Okay, so here's an overview. I'll give you a little bit of the background, but mostly it's just a focus on uh, blood and revenge here in Revelation, where she gets drunk on the blood of saints, and then there's revenge, and then seals 5 and 6. Uh, Seal 5 is about the blood, and Seal 6 is about the revenge. And I'll go into this a little more. If you haven't seen my prior presentation on the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and then Seals 5, 6, and 7. So if you haven't done that, I'll cover this a little bit more. And then we get a little bit of confirmation from a Jewish midrash, which is interpretation of prophecy. And then here's Allah's warning. Daniel 8 is about the end times, and it's about revenge. And then another Jewish interpretation of prophecy, which focuses on revenge. Isaiah 21. Now, a lot of people interpret Isaiah 21 is about the fall of the original Babylon, but I'm arguing that no, it's about the current Babylon and the fall. And then finally, Saudi Arabia appears to be collateral damage in all this and is taken out. So let's start. Okay, so the point here is that so a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, "Thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down, and shall not be found anymore." So just think about how angry you would get if you were going to pick up a big rock and throw it down to kind of represent how you feel. In order to do that, you'd have to be pretty mad, which means Babylon has really angered a lot of people, the angels and God. And so Revelation 18:7, in the measure that she glorifies herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and will see no sorrow. So she's a secondary power. And now, based on the name, Mystery, she works in the shadows, hence the name Mystery. And then she says in her heart, nobody can conquer me because, I've added this, I have a nuclear arsenal. So why will she see no sorrow? Why will nobody conquer her? Because most likely she has a nuclear arsenal. Who hates her? Well, a lot of people hate her. The 10 horns which you saw in the beast, these will hate the harlot, make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Well, they'll nuke her, or at least some of them will nuke her. And then this comes at a time before the 10 horns come under the authority of the beast. And in Revelation 19, here, after these things I heard a loud voice of a great multitude in heaven saying, Hallelujah, salvation, glory and honor and power belong to the Lord our God, for true and righteous are his judgments. So, because he has judged the great harlot. So, we're looking for a judgment on the great harlot who corrupted the earth with her fornication, and he has avenged on her the blood of his servants. So, the blood of his servants, these are Christians, and then a judgment. That's what we're looking for. So the blood of the saints. So in Revelation 17:6, right here, I saw the woman drunk with the blood of saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Okay, so now think about it. Drinking a lot of alcohol, for example, does not make you drunk. It's drinking a lot very quickly that gets you drunk. So this is an event where a lot of Christians die because of the mystery Babylon. And then 17:1, come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters. So there's an event that causes the death of a lot of Christians, and then because of that, there's a judgment. Now she sits on many waters. And here, what does many waters mean? They mean different peoples, nations, and tongues. Okay? So this harlot is located next to many other nations. Okay, seal 5 and 6. How does this help us? Okay, so I'm assuming that you haven't seen my presentation on the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And so let me just give you a little background here. In Revelation 1:3, it says basically, hey, this stuff is going to be helpful if you read and obey. And so then the question is, most interpretations, in fact, aren't very helpful. Mostly it's things happen, people die. So then what I did is I went back and I said, okay, how do you define a seal? And I define a seal as a series of shocks along the entire end time period, which lasts approximately 100 years. And these shocks, it turns out, are all nuclear except one. Now in this fifth seal, so it says here, I saw under the altars. To me, that indicates like a single church. So this event here is a small localized event focused on a single church. And the first thing I think of is Rome. If I have, in the absence of any other information, I'm thinking the Vatican and Rome. Okay, so some kind of big event killed a lot of Christians, and then now they cry out, how long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood for those who dwell on earth? So they want revenge. So now here it just says they're going to have to wait a little while for the revenge. Now, if the information here was important enough to be included in the seal, and this tends to be a smaller event because it's talking about a single church. If it's important enough to be here, then their revenge is important enough to be here also. So this would be the revenge. Okay, so this is the sixth seal. And then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man hid themselves in caves and in the rocks of the mountains. Okay, so the sky receded as a scroll. This describes a nuclear event. People hid themselves in caves. Again, that's what you would do in a nuclear event. And then finally here, fallen us, hide from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? So this is a judgment, okay, by Jesus. So here you have the blood. Then you have a nuclear event. Now, if this is a nuclear event, if the revenge is nuclear, then almost certainly this was nuclear as well. So nuclear terrorism would take out Rome, and then there would be an investigation, and then within a year you would get their revenge here in the sixth seal. So now the question is, okay, is there any indication that what I just said might be true? And so I did go looking for other information, other sources that might point in the direction that that's in fact true. And we say a Jewish midrash, which is an interpretation of Jewish prophecy here where they say, this was written I think about 1500 years ago, Rome will fall at the hands of Persia. And then we get a warning from Allah. Here a Canadian imam says Islam will conquer Rome. So, and I've heard this before, so Muslims are already talking about the conquest of Rome because it was prophesied by the Prophet Muhammad and promised by Allah that Islam would conquer Rome. So how do you conquer Rome? It's not like you can just send troops in. You're going to have to use nuclear terrorism. And so this, obviously, here, Rome falls at the hand of Persia. And so this is saying that Iran's behind it. Okay, so Iran is our mystery Babylon. Now, Daniel 8 also talks, so in Daniel 8 they explicitly say that it's at the time of the end. So a vision of a ram, these are the kings, the ram is represented by Iran, and a goat is the kingdom of Greece, but that's really, you can just think of that as Europe. So I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward. In other words, Iran was causing trouble in all directions. And as I was considering, suddenly a male goat came from the west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. So this appears some kind of be a missile attack. And then he came to the ram that had two horns. He came to Iran, and I saw him confronting the ram, and he was moved with rage against him. There was no power in the ram to withstand him. So Europe attacks Iran with utter rage. Gee, why would that be? Could it be that Iran nuked Rome and this now it's revenge? That's what it kind of looks like. But Iran, if it has a full nuclear arsenal, is obviously going to respond to a nuclear attack by Europe. So it's going to nuke Europe back and heavily damage it. But this is what this Midrash says. The year that the King Messiah will be revealed, all the kings, leaders of the nations will be struggling against each other. The leader of Persia will contest with an Arab leader, and the Arab leader will go to a Western superpower to get counsel from him. The leader of Persia will respond and attempt to bring destruction to the entire world. Well, this is from a perspective of maybe a Jew in Israel. And so if Europe attacks Iran with a nuclear arsenal, then Iran responds to Europe. But then additionally, there's information that Iran doesn't just limit it to Europe, it also takes out Saudi Arabia and some Gulf countries as well. So to somebody in Israel, it might look like the end of the world, but it's not. And so here in Daniel 8:9, therefore the male goat, this is Europe, grew very great, but when he became strong, the large horn was broken. And in place of it, four notable ones came up from the four winds of the heaven. And out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great towards the south, towards the east, and towards the glorious land. So when this is how I interpret this, so that when Europe attacks Iran, Iran responds, and Europe is heavily damaged. Okay, so its large herd was broken. But then, now out of the old Roman Empire, Turkey was part of the old Roman Empire. And I'm saying that the little horn probably comes out of Turkey. But the main idea is that its horn is broken by Iran. So Iran gets destroyed and Europe heavily damaged. Now, this is complicated, Isaiah 21, the fall of modern Babylon, because a lot of people interpret this as the fall of the original Babylon. But if we come here, and let's take a look here. This is Isaiah 21. here it says Babylon has fallen, has fallen. So when you see this has fallen twice, that's an indication that it's modern day Babylon. I'm just going to change these tabs real quick. Okay. So there's an attack. Let's just take a look at the big picture. So there's an attack from the desert, from a land of terror. Elam and Media attack. So this is Iran. And so then there's a labor pain. So when you see labor pain or harvest, these are the shocks in the seals. So this would be the fifth seal, where Iran launches nuclear terrorism against Rome. So then they prepare to counterattack. So then who did it? So they need to investigate, and they're waiting for messages. And then Babylon is fallen, is fallen. So this is about now. So in 21:9, they say all the images of its God lie shattered on the ground. But that didn't happen the first time. And then 21:10, my people who are crushed on the threshing floor. That didn't happen the first time, but this did happen this time, because Rome was nuked and they were wiped out, okay, by Iran. And then obviously if Iran's nuked, its gods are going to be shattered on the ground because it was nuked. So careful analysis of Isaiah 21 points toward the modern day Babylon falling, and that it's Iran. And then collateral, Isaiah 21:11 through 16 refers to the destruction of Saudi Arabia. So here we take a look. Let's go down here. So a prophecy against Edom, a prophecy against Duma. This is located in the Arabia area. Except the problem here with these proclamations is that they aren't very helpful. They don't provide enough information to know unless, and so what I'm saying is that this is related to up here, all of this, these are all related, but it doesn't confirm that. And so that I argue that Saudi Arabia falls when Iran falls. Iran strikes out at a lot of different countries. So in conclusion, I'm arguing that the mystery of Babylon is Iran because of what it has done, because it drunk the blood of saints in Rome when it destroyed Rome via nuclear terrorism. And so that's it. Thanks a lot. Bye.